From Illinois Public Media News, this is 217 Today. I'm Kimberly Schofield. It's Thursday, November 7th. Coming up, we'll learn how Morton, Illinois is the epicenter for pumpkins in the U.S. That story in just a few minutes, but first, these headlines. Every harvest season means the movement of huge amounts of grain. And as IPM's Jim Meadows reports, for those dealing with grain on farms and at elevators, it can be dangerous.
Walking on a pile of grain can be like walking on quicksand, and farm workers have suffocated after sinking into grain inside bins. Stuart Beckman is safety director for Columbia Grain in North Dakota. He says workers who detect an issue inside a bin sometimes ignore the risks.
And then people feel compelled to enter a bin to try and get that grain to move or walk that grain down, and those are very dangerous things, and we do not allow that.
OSHA's Kansas City regional office recently added Missouri to the list of states where it's been emphasizing grain handling safety, along with the states of Kansas and Nebraska. I'm Jim Meadows, IPM News.
This story was produced for Harvest Public Media, a collaboration of public media newsrooms in the Midwest and Great Plains. Illinois Republicans are bullish on a second Donald Trump presidency. Alex Degman reports.
State Representative John Cabello thinks Illinois' Republican congressional districts will fare better, even though they only control 3 of them.
At least the congressmen here in Illinois will be able to bring more money back to their districts.
State Representative Joe Sosnowski says another Trump term solidifies a Republican platform for the state party to build on.
Trump obviously is only going to have 4 years. We'll be rebuilding and growing, hopefully, the party, especially when you look 2 years out. There'll be a lot of seats in play. Illinois
GOP Chair Kathy Salvi has a similar view, saying in a celebratory press release that the 2026 midterms are a mere 727 days away. Trump performed better in Illinois this time compared to his other 2 runs for office. I'm Alex Degman.
Around 70% of Urbana residents voted yes on a ballot question asking if the U.S. should end its military funding for Israel. Residents petitioned to put the referendum on the Cunningham Township election ballot earlier this year. The advisory question claimed that the country is using taxpayer dollars to commit human rights violations. Opponents of the proposal say the referendum was worded poorly. That includes Executive Director of the Champaign-Urbana Jewish Federation, Mayan Weinberg.
If you are a voter who walked into the election booth on Tuesday with no prior information, you are faced with a misleading ballot initiative with language that represented really just a one-sided perspective. It offered no balance on a very complex geopolitical situation.
Supporters say the non-binding proposal shows lawmakers that the community wants an end to the war in Gaza. And in Urbana election news, voters approved a ballot question asking whether the city should refuse to invest in companies that produce fossil fuels. A majority also voted in favor of the non-binding referendum asking if the U.S. should end military funding for Israel. Residents organized petitions to put both proposals on the Cunningham Township election ballot earlier this year. Both results are non-binding and create no direct changes to local or national policies. Still to come, we'll learn how Morton, Illinois is the epicenter for pumpkins in the U.S. That story is coming up next on 217 Today. But first, meteorologist Andrew Pritchard with your forecast for today.
I'm meteorologist Andrew Pritchard with your IPM News forecast for Champaign-Urbana. Your forecast for today, partly cloudy with a high of 58 degrees and a north wind 5 to 10 miles per hour. Tonight, clear skies with a low of 38 degrees and a northwest wind 5 miles per hour. Tomorrow, sunny with a high of 60 degrees, a northwest wind 5 miles per hour. Tomorrow night, clear skies with the low of 39 degrees, an east wind 5 miles per hour. And for Saturday, partly cloudy with a chance of rain and a high of 61 degrees, and a southeast wind 5 to 10 miles per hour.
Next time on the 21st show, Election Day has come and gone. We'll soon be dropping the former before President Trump's name, but many people are still feeling the stress of everything that's happened. We'll talk about the emotional toll of American politics, the effect that has on our well-being, and what we can do to try to stay mentally healthy. I'm Brian Mackey. That's next time on the 21st show. Join us.
It's that time of year when people eat a lot of pumpkin pie, pumpkin bread, even pumpkin ice cream. Most of the pumpkin that goes into these treats comes from Morton, Illinois, a town about 15 miles from Peoria. In fact, in any given year, up to 95% of the canned pumpkin in the U.S. comes from this area. Harvest Public Media contributor Joe Deacon gives us a look into how this popular crop figures into the local economy.
On a cool and breezy fall morning, John Ackerman surveys the pumpkin crop on his farm field just east of Morton.
It's been a good year for us. Normally pumpkins like it relatively dry. I've been amazed at how great this year was for pumpkins.
Ackerman's 30-acre farm has been in his family since 1909, originally focused on livestock, small grains, and row crops. In the 80s, he shifted the primary interest to pumpkins when he was first contracted by the nearby Libby's plant in Morton, a village that has embraced an identity as pumpkin capital of the world.
As soon as you start raising pumpkins, you fall in love with them. It's a great way of life.
Farms in this part of the country are well known for growing corn and soybeans. But in Morton and around Peoria, there's an emphasis on foods people serve during the holidays, especially pumpkins.
It's a great story to tell. One of my colleagues once said, Thanksgiving is brought to you by the Greater Peoria.
That's Chris Setti, the CEO of the Greater Peoria Economic Development Council. According to their figures, the Peoria region produces more than 220,000 tons of pumpkin each year. And a big reason for that is the Libby's plant. Rochelle Malin is with Nestle, Libby's parent company.
Over the last 16 years, we've harvested over 1.9 million tons of pumpkins. And then just last year, Libby sold enough cans in grocery stores to bake over 48 million pumpkin pies.
Malin says more than 90% of Libby's pumpkins are grown within a 45-mile radius of the facility, allowing them to establish a partnership with their farmers through the entire process. She says they help growers identify the best fields for their pumpkins.
Then Nestle provides our proprietary pumpkin seed and offers technical assistance during the planting. Once the seeds are planted, the ag team works with growers to continuously monitor that soil health, climate, and our pumpkins throughout the growing season and harvest.
Malin says these unique partnerships allow them to explore more environmentally friendly practices, such as cover crops and precise fertilizer application to improve soil quality. And Illinois' soil and climate is ideal for growing pumpkins. Mohammed Babadoust is a professor of plant pathology at the University of Illinois who specializes in vegetable and fruit crops. He says pumpkins have a huge impact on the state's agricultural economy.
In Illinois, we grow at least 3 times more pumpkin than any other state. One time I calculated, pumpkin industry, in my calculation, is over $200 million industry in Illinois.
In Morton, they're very aware that the town is the heart of that industry. The village holds an annual pumpkin festival, which attracts 75,000 people over 4 days each September. Mayor Jeff Kaufman says pumpkin is just about everything in Morton.
Next year, Libby's will be in Morton for 100 years. So it's very important. I mean, they have 200 employees when they're canning and everything, and they support our stores and shops, gas stations.
Kaufman says almost anywhere you look in Morton, you'll see some sort of pumpkin depiction.
Just painted our water tower, a new logo, and the very next day I was already hearing compliments, and I had one lady demanded the other one get painted. I said, well, we're going to let the paint, wear out just a little bit more.
Back at Ackerman's farm, they hand-pick roughly 30,000 pumpkins each year. For several weeks each fall, visitors flock to his farm stand to choose the perfect pumpkin from among 160 different varieties.
There's something iconically beautiful about looking over a pumpkin field when they're ripe, and it just shows the fruits of your labor.
As he looks out over his field of orange, white, and yellow pumpkins, Ackerman says the farm will continue to be a busy place as Thanksgiving approaches. For Harvest Public Media, I'm Joe Deacon.
Harvest Public Media is a collaboration of public media newsrooms in the Midwest and Great Plains. That's it for today. 217 Today is produced by Stephanie Mosqueda. Reporting today contributed by Jim Meadows, Alex Stegman, Anuliko Ochuba, and Joe Deacon. Music by the Kilbourne Alley Blues Band. Reginald Hardwick is our news director. I'm Kimberly Schofield. 217 Today is a production of Illinois Public Media. Thanks for listening, stay safe, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow.